we're going to tie a Callibaetis. This is my version of it. It's a pretty straightforward fly. It's kind of like a hare's ear pheasant tail blend, the fluffy tail. I tie this fly in 3 colors. I'm going to do it in the kind of reddish phase today. A lot of lakes have their Callibaetis are kind of gray. I do it in gray also. I'm going to start my thread at the 3/4 point. That's going to be where I tie in my wing case. It's going to have a shell back over the whole thing, but that's going to be where the wing case is tied in. Then I'm going to tie, I'm using ostrich herl for the tails, and I tie the first one in. They're kind of long. If you look at a Callibaetis, they got a long tail. Tie this one in first, come forward a little bit. We're going to end up with 3, but I tie the tail in first, and then the first one, there's 3 sections to it, and then I tie all the rest of the stuff in and put the other 2 on the side so that it stays, so they stay off to the side just a little bit. Then we're going to put the rib in. I'm using extra small gold rib. On some of them, and I don't do it on all of them, but on some of them I tie in dark, the black, extra small black. On the gray ones I like the black because it just segments the body. And then I'm going to tie this in right here on the inside, set it off to the edge, take some pheasant tail. We're going to tie in just enough to make the back. I'm going to tie this in upside down, tips first. Right on top. Now I'm going to just finish this up. I'm going to take it all the way up to where we started the thread, not going past that where I'm going to tie the wing case. That's going to be the wing case as well. Now I'm going to come back. And the reason I do that is to not build, I don't want to hump where I tie in multiple materials. So I just continued that forward. If I wasn't so cheap, I'd get my material clip. I lost it. I haven't replaced it because it's probably about $1. So now I'm going to tie one more tip of an ostrich herl on the, they've usually got a little curl to them. I just like to put, so they swing out, you know, one way or the other. I want them to fork, so I've got it off to each side. Really isn't going to be quite that critical. Once the fly gets wet, they're going to all be hanging back there anyway. So now I'm going to dub this body. I want it nice and picky. I use a dubbing. This is my own tool. It doesn't matter what type of dubbing loop you use. I particularly like, on all my nymphs, I like to have dubbing loops. I actually even dub some of my dry flies because it makes such a tight body. But get over there. This particular tool, you'll see how it works in a second. It's just got some advantages. So the nice thing about a dubbing loop is you can form the taper. You want to build a taper to all your flies. I mean, they're skinnier in the butt and thicker up front. So I'm going to build that taper sort of to start it. It's going to be wider at the bottom, skinnier at the front. You just manipulate this material. Take your dubbing loop, open it up, regardless of the kind you use. I don't use wax on my dubbing ever. I like it to be able to move inside the thread. So now I've got a little bit of a taper started here. It's thicker at the top than it is in the bottom. Before you spin it, just arrange it a little bit if it's not right. It's a little thicker in one spot. Just move it around. And then I use claret thread on all my nymphs. I don't know why. Always have. You just spin the bottom and then pick it out nice and picky. And Now we're going to just wrap this dubbing, and we're just trying to make a nice buggy abdomen here, tapered at the back. I'm going to get up here. I don't like that wrap right there. It's got to be tighter. There. Now I'm going to get right up to where I have the wing case starting. And if you wanted to, you can use that. I'm going to do it twice. All right. Now I'm going to pull the wing case forward, splitting. See, that's going to separate those legs or those tails out a little bit. And I'm going to leave this forward quite a bit because I'm going to fold it back after I rib it. So now I'm just going to rib right over top of this. Nice even wraps. Keep your dubbing down. If that's not real tight, just give it a pull on your right hand here. And just tighten up the body. Just trying to make nice even wraps. More for you than anything else. It's just visual. And then go right over top of that. Now I'm going to fold this wing case back. Going to go back to where we started. They've got a kind of short wing case. Clip any loose hairs out of here. And again, get it back to about the 2/3 or 3/4 point, I mean. And make sure when you do this, you do a little dubbing right there. So when you pull this forward, it doesn't get real skinny. You want a little bit of bulbous thorax there. And now just do the same thing. Dubbing loop forward. And she's almost done. Now, the same thing with your dubbing loop on this one. And this is squirrel belly hair, by the way, I'm using here. I use it in gray, red, and kind of a brownish colored. But this time I'm going to leave it a little bit looser. And if you want to, the natural that I use a lot of times is just regular hairs there. If you want to, you can just pick some hairs out of anything, a hair's mask, and get them so you get the leg effect. But the first one I do, I don't use the rotary mechanism when I do the first turn, just because I like I want to give it a good tight pull. And I'm going to leave that nice and picky. You can go back and trim that at any time if you got too much, which I will in a second. Okay, I don't want a bunch of this on top. So then we're going to wet your fingers, get your materials down to the side, and just pull that up and over. So you got a nice wing case. Push your finger into it and flatten it out. Like I said, it's kind of a long-tailed hare's ear pheasant tail. And just finish off your head. Done. Then what I do is I just come in here and I pull these strands and then I cut them long. Leave the front ones longer. If you've got a bunch of really long ones on the back, if they're still there, I trim them off a little bit. Not too much, just kind of leave it picky like that. It's a pretty straightforward fly. The big thing is the length and the tails. If you look at a Callibaetis, they've got 3 tails and they're kind of fluffy and swimmy, you know, like little fans. And that is the Callibaetis. Pretty straightforward. Got one tail out of place. There you go. And then just trim out whatever you've got left over. When you're all done, if it's not exactly how you like it, take your bodkin, wrong one, just come in here. I've taken, this was by accident, this is my bodkin that, this is a CF design. I dropped it and bent the end of it. I loved it. So now I've left it that way. Or it's also got a bore cleaning tool. You can come in here and you can just go like that and you can rough your fly up. But I'm just going to pick off the longer ones off the side, just like that. Give it a leg effect. Beautiful. There it is. That's the Callibaetis.